Welcome back to Checkpoint. I'm Robinson Okenye. Now, a fierce battle is raging over one of Kenya's largest remaining public land assets, the vast 10,000-acre Miwani Sugar land, with a powerful cabal of state actors and private interests in a calculated push to take control of the land. Tonight, KTN uncovers a trail of internal government correspondence and confidential court records that point to a carefully orchestrated scheme allegedly driven at the highest level of executive to legitimize a fraudulent land acquisition and transfer a colossal public asset to private hands. At the center of the controversy is a contested title held by the obscure Kisumu-based company Crossley Holdings Limited, which investigators have described as a fake deed. Vera Murav peels back the layers of the intrigue, revealing how the country's valuable asset may be slipping through the cracks of legality into private hands.
The person losing the land register, that is Crossley Holdings, has since taken possession of the land, moved to the ground, and is using it.
A company going by the name Crossley had purportedly owned the land through buying in an auction, but it has been established that they never paid any money, so they don't own the money.
They say they don't remember how they paid. If they paid, I challenge them to bring the evidence. Whom did they pay? How did they pay? Where did they pay?
Haitawezekana kama hata kama ni damu yetu itamwagiwa yote, tumekubali tukufe.
Hatutakubali mtu aingie kwa shamba yetu bila sisi wenyewe kuhusishwa.
Everything about that thing is fraud.
Tucked deep within Kisumu County is Miwani, a company that once stood as the vibrant heartbeat of Kenya's sugar industry. A place where ambition steered with every sunrise and livelihoods flourished across endless fields of green. Miwani, sitting on approximately 10,000 acres, was an industrial giant producing 20,000 tons of white sugar and sustaining more than 6,000 people, making it one of the biggest in the region. The vibrant township that grew around the mill was a testament of its prosperity. A 260-bed hospital was built and a school that was a preserve of the children of the middle class working in the area. Now, today, that vibrancy has faded into unsettling silence. Miwani is a ghost of its former self. Machines that once roared with life now sit in silence. Streets that once echoed with activities have fallen still. The once thriving township has collapsed into poverty. With the sugar mill silent, the local economy has withered, leaving families frustrated.
Ilikuwa ikifanya kazi, watoto walikuwa wanasomeshwa. Na saa hii tumekwama na watoto nyumbani. Na hata serikali hajalipa wenye walikuwa wakifanya hata kazi pale. Wengi wameaga kwa ajili ya hiyo, kwa ajili ya stress.
Tumekuwa tukiishi kwa shida nyingi sana. Hapo awali kabla ya Miwani kufa, wakati ambapo factory ilikuwa inafanya kazi, tulikuwa tunaishi vizuri. Tulikuwa tunafanya, wazazi wetu walikuwa wanafanya kazi Miwani, na wengi tulisoma kwa sababu ya factory ya Miwani. Wakazi wa Miwani walikuwa wanaishi maisha mazuri, lakini tangu ilipo collapse, tumekuwa tukipitia shida mbalimbali, changamoto nyingi sana.
Since its incorporation, 9,394 acres of Miwani land has been used for growing sugarcane until July 2025, when a company by the name Crossley Holdings Limited took over.
The leasing program went on, minus Miwani. Then, later on, we saw contingent of RDU. The so-called cabals Crossley came to take over. Then a contingent of RDU came. They removed the little people who are doing tilling the land. They removed all the plants, all the plants that people had put there on the land. They removed, and they started beating up people and removed them. And then they patched on the land at the factory that now they own the factory. Then there was heavy presence of security, government security. Recently, when the committee came, they were temporarily removed. Then I understand after the committee left, they have gone back. And they are even removing people, those who purportedly gave evidence against them during the hearing, the petition hearings. They have removed them from their houses in Miwani. And I am saying, we are not that weak. We are law-abiding. We are waiting for the parliamentary committee to finish their program. After that, what is next? To take people to die there? And it will be good. They will die in defense of their land.
Crossley Holdings Limited claims to have acquired the title legally from the government, tracing its ownership to a public auction in 2010. But that transaction opened the door to a protracted legal battle, and for the past 16 years, the question of who truly owns Miwani has been locked in the courts.
Assistant Director of Public Prosecution, Fresh Ashimoshi, has told the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Division of the High Court that he has sufficient evidence against 6 accused persons implicated in the 2.3 billion shillings Miwani Sugar Limited land grab scandal.
7 people, among them an ex-magistrate, have been arraigned in a Kisumu court over alleged irregular acquisition of 9,000 acres of land.
Former Magistrate Abdul Kadir Al-Kindi is among the 8 people facing charges could not proceed.
What Miwani residents and the rest of Kenyans don't know is that after years of collapse, alleged fraud and bitter ownership disputes, the company's land is once more at the center of controversy. Its troubled history has resurfaced yet again, this time under the shadow of government involvement.
So those in government who are hiding behind these crooks, thinking that they will enable them achieve their end of these crooks taking the land, then they divide with them, we are seeing them. We are seeing them. In short, there is no iota of evidence that will prove to you that there was an auction where these people bought whatever. Even if there was an auction, there is no evidence to prove that these people bought this in an auction, because if you buy something in an auction, they must deposit some money and then you must pay the balance. Everything about that thing is fraud. And it's fraud because some people are lenient, some senior people are lenient with the fraudsters.
Okay, let us pray.
Sources close to KTN that sought anonymity revealed that in mid-April this year, the cabinet met and resolved to settle the Miwani Sugar land issues out of court. According to our sources familiar with deliberations, the matter was tabled by Head of Public Service Felix Koskei. As the Head of Public Service Felix Koskei introduced the matter, the cabinet, without full brief or ignorant of it, moved to endorse a decision to hand over the land to Crossley Holdings, the very company that has been in court for the past 16 years over ownership of Miwani land. The question that hangs heavy is why the cabinet will solve a case of public land out of court, and if a cabinet has the mandate to make such decisions.
Decisions of cabinet, matters taken up in the or undertaken on the political front in respect of a matter which is pending in court really do not have any weight as such, in court processes, especially matters which are pending in court. So I have not changed my position in that regard.
Many have questioned why the Head of Public Service Felix Koskei will be interested in this case. Well, when Miwani Sugar case was boiling in court, the Head of Public Service Felix Koskei was the then Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries from 2013 to 2015 before being dismissed on corruption allegations. Ultimately, those following the Miwani Sugar dispute closely argue that a few people have had as much exposure to its long and complex history as Felix Koskei. Further investigations reveal that long before the cabinet sat this year, The receiver manager to Miwani Sugar received a directive on April 22, 2025 from the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Agriculture, Dr. Kiprono Rono, instructing him to have his lawyers sign a consent settling the matter. In his letter addressed to the CEO of the Kenya Sugar Board, Jude Chesire, the PS directed the board to instruct its lawyers, a Kisumu-based firm, Owiti, Otieno and Ragot Advocates, to sign a consent settling the matter so that ownership can revert to Crossley Holdings. The letter further asserts that Crossley Holdings is the rightful owner of the entire 10,000 acres and that the company has agreed to cede 2,000 acres thereof for the purpose of the establishment of a special economic zone and for any other purpose of a public nature as the government may deem fit. But on the ground in Miwani, the mood is far from settled. When KTN visited Miwani, residents were resistant, making it clear they were unwilling to surrender what they described as the ancestral land to Crossley Holdings.
Ndio sababu tunasema samba isirudi kwetu, baadaye ndio sisi kama wenyeji wa samba tutaona ya kuwa tunaifanyia nini samba yetu. Kama tunapeana investor, kama tunapeana nini, kama tunaigawanya, hiyo ni haki yetu. Na yoyote hawezi akatoka ama atoke India ama sehemu aina wapi akuja nyang'anye watu wa cabal, watu wa Kamagaga, watu wa Sido na watu wa Nandi samba yao. Haitawezekana hata kama ni damu yetu itamwagiwa yote, tumekubali tukufe.
Mbona sisi kama wakazi wa Miwani hatukuuzishwa? Na kama alinunua, mbona sisi wenyewe hatukuulizwa pesa tununue shamba yetu? Kwa sababu sisi ndio tuko na right ya kuuza na kununua, kwa sababu ni shamba ambayo ilikuwa ya wazazi wetu.
Since this tug of war began on Christmas Eve, 24th of December 2007, Crossley Holdings Limited has always claimed to have paid 752 million Kenyan shillings to the government during the public auction. But the Court of Appeal, being the apex court then, ruled the auction fake after investigators including the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, now Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, laid bare the scandal surrounding Miwani's sugar land sale, declaring it fraudulent, and concluded that no real money had ever changed hands.
When we invited Crossley directors and Kibos Sugar people before the committee, they confirmed they do not remember who they paid, how much they paid, how they paid. The truth is, the Treasury people confirmed to us and the Ministry of Agriculture people confirmed to us, government never received any payment for that land. So the truth is, Crossley and Kibos never paid for Miwani land. If they paid, I challenge them to bring the evidence. Whom did they pay? How did they pay? Where did they pay? They never paid for it. It was all a fraud.
Then, these people, after seeing Mwera's judgment, they were still dissatisfied, with the power of money. They were excited. They still went ahead and appealed in the Court of Appeal then. Then the Court of Appeal was the highest court. The Supreme Court had not been established because it was before 2010 Constitution. So they went to Court of Appeal. And a three-bench judge, one of them I know is Justice Tunoi, Justice Unyango Tieno, and there's another one, sat, looked at the whole case, and they concurred with the High Court judgment. They said this is nullity. The whole thing was a forgery, that these people never paid money anywhere. So the issue rested there. The criminal case was still going on.
KTN is in possession of judgment from both the Court of Appeal and the High Court, which held that the proceedings culminating in the auction were a nullity. Consequently, the purported sale was itself a nullity and no valid transfer of title passed. These judgments conclusively settled the issue of ownership, directing that the land ought to revert to Miwani Sugar Mills Limited. So the AG filed criminal charges against 8 people, and one company stood accused of conspiracy to defraud, fraudulent acquisition of public property, and forgery. Among the accused were Ian Gakao Maina, the advocate, Odongo Phillips Kabita, the government valuer who undervalued the property, Sukwinda Singh Chate, a director of Kibos Sugar Limited, which helped pay the stamp duty. Pinto Opondo Okoyo, accused of forging the Land Control Board consent, and Crossley Holdings Limited itself.
Consequently, the following, that is the first accused, Ian Kagoi Minor, third accused, Odongo Phillips Kabita, sixth accused, Sukwinda Singh Chate, seventh accused, Pinto Opondo Okoyo, and ninth accused, Crossley Holdings Limited, are set at liberty.
But on May 20th, 2019, the magistrate delivered a ruling where he acquitted all the accused persons of all charges under Section 210 of the Criminal Procedure Code, saying that prosecution had failed to establish its case since the prosecution had not provided ownership of the land.
Cases are still pending. So they never paid for it. Now, across the government, the executive, there are people who have been compromised over the years who are assisting with this illegal acquisition of public property. And those are the people you see who are writing those forged letters. There are people who have been compromised in the judiciary.
ODPP, I asked them and they told me they had appealed. That was ODPP then, now under Nurdin, who was supposed to appeal. And they gave us the impression they had appealed in the interest of the public. But we have not seen rearrest, we have not seen rearrangement of the same people who are discharged in court.
But how exactly did Crossley Holdings Limited end up at that fake auction? Miwani Sugar Mills was drowning in debt. The first owners, Hindocha family, had abandoned the mill in 1988, leaving behind massive liabilities. The government stepped in 2 years later, purchasing the mill for 354 million Kenyan shillings to protect creditors.
When Miwani went into receivership, Vanessa Associates, which was associated with the Ketan Somaya Group, took over the running of the factory. They then acquired 51% of the shares, and government retained 49%. They were supposed to make certain investments, which they did not make. Eventually, they exited and actually surrendered all the 51% shares back to the government. So Miwani is a parastatal, 100% owned by the treasury.
Yet, the problem persisted. It got worse when Nagendra Saxena, a businessman from Mumbai, sued Miwani, claiming the company owed him $400,000. The case stalled for years, but resurfaced in 2007, just as Miwani remained under receivership.
It turns out Nagendra Saxena does not exist. This has been established by both NIS and the Department of Immigration. Nobody has ever seen him. But he purported to have gotten some court orders and proceeded to auction the land to Kibos and Allied Company.
And up to now, nobody has met Nagendra Saxena. Only in this committee, the last committee is when I had, during his testimony, I had Raju Singh, claim that he paid money to Nagendra Saxena in India. Then we reminded him that even if he had paid money, even if he paid money to him, the total bill was $752 million. Nagendra Saxena was owed about $4 million. So where did he pay the balance? Is that page he cannot show you. He cannot show you, he cannot tell you. But that being the case, Nagendra Saxena has not been seen, has not been heard, has not been met. And yet, it's the cause of all this controversy.
And that is exactly how Crossley Holdings Limited ended up in that fake auction in 2007. Since that auction, Crossley Holdings Limited has since moved to quash the ruling of the Court of Appeal, which was the apex court, the highest judicial authority of the land. Despite that binding decision, Crossley proceeded to file a fresh case before a lower court, the Environment and Land Court, in direct disregard of the judgment already delivered by the Kisumu Court of Appeal.
We all know that Land and Environment Court cannot nullify what the Court of Appeal as the apex court did. So it is all a charade. It is all a charade being used by people, by trickster lawyers and these fraudsters. And now their behavior recently now give us the impression that some powerful political forces are either with them or using them. Because when each time the government has come up with a policy to do privatization, and Miwani has been floated for one of those companies for privatization. These people have gone to court. Knowing very well they owe nothing, people don't owe them anything. They go to court to sabotage that process. So in my own way, they are economic saboteurs. And very soon I'm going to ask my people to just make a declaration, let them all be arrested, be killed, but they must also deal with these people. Because they are economic saboteurs, they are standing in between them and their livelihood.
And even today, the dust has not settled. The National Assembly Land Committee has been probing the same matter.
When we invited Crossley directors and Kisumu Sugar people before the committee, they confirmed they do not remember who they paid, how much they paid, how they paid. The truth is, the Treasury people confirmed to us and the Ministry of Agriculture people confirmed to us, government never received any payment for that land. So the truth is, Crossley and Kisumu never paid for Miwani land. If they paid, I challenge them to bring the evidence. Whom did they pay? How did they pay? Where did they pay? They never paid for it. It was all a fraud.
Despite what the government may have done in terms of, granting a consent to Crossley Holdings to take a big chunk of the land, the bottom line is that for as long as there exists an illegality in the substantive law or in the procedural law, in the manner in which Crossley Holdings acquired the title, there will always be a problem. And if the title is tainted with illegality or some form of procedural irregularity, that will remain the position, notwithstanding what the government says.
So who truly owns Crossley Holdings Limited, the company that wants to take over the Miwani land? According to official records from the Business Registration Service, Crossley Holdings Limited, company number C73036, was incorporated on October 3rd, 1996. The ownership structure points to a tightly held arrangement. Sukhinder Singh Chate emerges as the majority shareholder and director, holding 999 ordinary shares, representing 99.9%. The record lists him as a Kenyan national with official correspondence linking him to a postal address in Kisumu. Further details show that Sukhinder Singh Chate is a director at Kisumu Sugar Limited. For Miwani residents, this isn't just about 10,000 acres of soil, it is about a heritage. It is a struggle over memory, identity, and a legacy rooted in sacrifice that they donated a century ago for a communal dream that has since stalled. As they watch the legal tug of war from their doorsteps, their message remains clear. The land was given for sugar, not for private gain. Whether the government honors that original pact or allows it to be grabbed by the highest bidder will determine if Miwani finally wakes up or is buried forever under the weight of greed. Throughout the investigations, KTN reached out to the head of public service Felix Koskei and the Solicitor General for the right of reply. But by the time of airing this report, none had responded to us. Vera Mura, for Miwani Land Circus, KTN.